we can change the way we think. Our thoughts are a habit, and our thoughts become habitual because they are things we have been telling ourselves over and over and over and over again, and they become beliefs. So our beliefs are nothing more than statements or sentences that we have said to ourselves so many times that we believe it. And so in order to change the way you think about yourself or anything else, these automatic hardwired thoughts that we have to create new connections in the brain. The neuroscience is creating new neural pathways in the brain. That has to be done through repetition.
Welcome to another episode of Negotiate Your Best Life. So we are bringing some fire today. I'm so excited to welcome Hilary Silver and introduce you guys to her. She is so interesting. I love her take. She talks about being self-centered, which is kind of interesting when you talk about narcissism, but in a good way, because we all feel like we shouldn't think about ourselves. It's like the last thing that we do, right? But we actually need to think about ourselves. And so I can't wait to introduce you guys to her. She has a background in clinical psychology and neuroscience, and she's just a champion for you guys. And she's absolutely incredible. She's built a huge business, an 8-figure women's empowerment company, and she's just focused on wellness. She's been on all kinds of amazing media, and plus she's just really going to be fun to talk to. So welcome, Hilary. I'm so glad to have you here and to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I'm excited to talk to you.
Yes. And I love women who are up to really cool new things, especially, transitioning in at this time in our lives, which I've also done, which is so fun. So tell me a little bit about yourself and what have you been up to, and then how did you get here?
Yeah. Well, the older I get, the longer that story is. So
I know,
I'll try to
right?
keep it short, but I had a therapy practice in Denver for 15 years, about 14 years. And I just got really tired of repeating myself over and over again, person after person, because ultimately what everybody was coming to talk about were more the surface level issues. And underneath it all, it's all the same. Like if we believe in ourselves and we trust ourselves and we feel capable and worthy, then we can do anything and we don't need help at all. So I left that practice in 2017, a strategic move to focus just on single women who were having great success in their careers, have amazing lives, and all of that, dynamic women, but their love lives have been pretty crappy, and they have a long history of not being cared for the way they want to, not being treated the way they deserve to be treated. Many of them, like pretty much 90% of them, have narcissists in their wake. And so that Ready for Love is a program that it's an online program that helps women. It's a group coaching experience. And I've been doing that since 2017, very successfully. And we have so many success stories of women just kind of coming over to the other side of that tunnel, doing the deep work with us to come on the other side and actually feel strong in themselves. And we can talk about that, a little later. But then last year, I decided I don't want to just help single women. I want to help all women, and men too, men who are brave enough to tune into my stuff. I don't man bash, but it is more focused on women. But the podcast and I'm working on a book as well. And it's really kind of the culmination of everything, which is the antidote and the answer and the key to navigating all of our challenges and our obstacles is to really be self-centered. All of us are pretty much conditioned to turn away from ourselves and to be pleasing and accommodating and pretty and agreeable and nice and kind and all that stuff, and to be selfless, and that's good. But then we arrive into our adulthood and we really don't even know who we are. And that's how we end up in relationships with narcissists or people who can kind of exploit that or take advantage of it or just even eclipse us in our relationships. So that's what I'm on a mission to do right now, is to really focus on helping people just step into being more centered in themselves in a good way.
Okay, so good. It's interesting because I have a high conflict negotiation certification training, and I've certified about 300 coaches through that. I mean, I have my SLAY program, which is like my lower ticket program, which has, I've sold maybe thousands and thousands of those. But my certification training is probably 80% women. And that, I train the coaches, and the first thing I always say to them is, congratulations for being here. Congratulations for self-care. That's many people like don't show up for themselves. And um, it's so empowering for them to be in the Zoom room with me and go, you know what, I'm here and I'm focusing on myself. And, when they train with me, I always say, we're going to be here for the next 2 hours, and whatever is going on in your life will be there when you get back. And you can
Yep.
focus on yourself for the next couple of hours and not feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
And it's like so empowering for them to go, you know what? Yeah, you're right. It's okay.
Why
And
is that? It's just so hard for women to just do that. And
yeah,
I'm like, that has to stop. It just has to stop. It does.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just to lay down that guilt and go, because it's like for women, it's like when they're at work, they feel guilty because they're not at home, and when they're home, they feel guilty because they're not working enough. And it's like we're just sort of like conditioned to constantly be in this cycle of we're not doing enough, we're not enough, we're not enough,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I get it because I have 4 kids too, so I get that. And I had a big, 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 big career as a lawyer. And I transitioned in 2017 also, and then started on YouTube in 2020. And I have over 500,000 subscribers on YouTube now, and a big training company now.
Well, I
Within
love that we both left our practice. Like, I was doing psychology, you were doing law or whatever you were doing, and like wanting to help more people and make a bigger impact and be able to walk. I mean, my practice was successful. I'm sure yours was too. To walk away for something bigger is badass, I have to say, and even like now, like Ready for Love is an 8-figure coaching company, and like yours sounds to be. And just being able to, and that's just like the currency is really just a symbol of how many people we've been able to help
Right.
and how many people are on the other side of the work with us. And it is like just fascinating to be able to be online and to really scale at that level. I really
It
wish that my best business advice was also the worst, actually, which was to run ads to really kind of generate the engine and get constant flow. And which was great, that made all the difference for me. But also the advice was that you only need to do that. So I wish that I started on YouTube in 2020, because where would I be like now if I had really done that? So best and worst business advice all rolled into one. So I'm grateful for what I did get, because I've done a lot, but you were super smart to just get on YouTube back then, for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because I will say that when I left my practice in 2017, I had the top family law practice in Naples, Florida, which is a very affluent community. And so when I merged my practice with 2 other family law attorneys who were in the academy, then I remember that one of the other attorneys in the community called one of my partners at the time and said, is she sick? Does she have cancer? Like why? They couldn't imagine that anybody would give up a practice like mine. And because, nobody could picture that I would want to do anything else, because that was the pinnacle.
Yeah.
And I thought, no, I'm definitely doing something else, and I can be successful doing something else. Like I remember thinking I built it and it ate me. Like once I hit that pinnacle, it was sort of like what you were thinking. It was like, I really wanted to hit that level, but then it felt like a hamster wheel for me.
Yeah.
And because I just thought, I can't go any more from this. I hired more and more associates and paralegals, but then I found that it didn't give me more freedom. It just was actually more of a prison because I was having to oversee their work. And then because of the nature, the very personal nature of family law, and because my clients were very affluent, they really didn't care that I could say, hey, it's actually more of a bargain to have my associate or my paralegal help, because they were like, well, but I really want you. So they didn't really care that it would be money or whatever to have my associate or paralegal to handle the work. So it didn't give me more freedom. Have you ever met somebody, they started off to be the most charming, charismatic person you've ever met in your life, then they turned out to be your worst nightmare, and then when you go to negotiate with them, they're a living hell? Well, I developed something called the SLAY method of negotiating with narcissists, and it has helped tens of thousands of people in more than 150 countries win, go from feeling drained and defeated to getting the outcomes they want. And the reason why it works is because I spent more than 20 years studying narcissism as a trial attorney, and now I'm here to help you win too, and also take your suffering and turn it into your superpower. Take your pain and turn it into profit, peace, and purpose as a highly specialized, high conflict negotiation coach. If you want to learn how to do it, then just go to RebeccaZung.com/apply, and I will show you how.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I obviously can scale more and help more people around the world with the work that I do now.
Yep.
So,
yeah,
it's much more freeing. So tell me, how did you get into this? You're not single, I don't think, right?
No, I've been with my husband 25 years and I have 2 kids. I'm a little older than I look. I mean, you look great too. But I'm 52, so I always feel like I have to tell people that because I have these cheeks that make me look young and they're like, "Wait a minute, how long would you get when you get together when you were 12?" So no, I have a 17 and a 14-year-old. And I've been with my husband for 25 years. But literally, when I left my practice to launch Ready for Love, it was a strategic decision. I never wanted to work with couples ever again. Working with couples as a therapist sucks. Like, I hated every minute of it because really rarely would couples come in and take responsibility for themselves. They were always, blaming each other. And I just feel like there's no I in we, and the I is what needs to be dealt with. Both people need to take responsibility for what they're doing and healing themselves and growing and changing their patterns. And so I just was like, I never want to work with couples again, but I have all this experience in relationships and I've been doing it for so long now. So I decided what I really love doing is helping people feel strong in themselves, trust themselves, get their own back, have that relationship with themselves. And so I decided to work with single women who want relationships, but the answer is actually not about finding him. It's more about finding yourself first, and then everything else just takes care of itself. It really does. So 80% of Ready for Love is focusing on her own growth and her own identity and changing the way she talks to herself and learning to think new things and changing at the neuroscience deep in the brain level, creating new neural pathways to think new things about themselves. And it's actually profound and transformational and life-changing in every way. While it is like geared towards women who want a relationship and we help with that, it is like the impact of doing this work is far reaching. And one of the reasons that I decided I'm still running that actually. I have teams that that are running everything for me. But I wanted to do the podcast and launch my personal brand so that I can really evolve that conversation for all people, because this is happening for married women who aren't looking for love. It's happening for men too in their relationships. And so I just feel like we do not do a good job teaching our kids to have a relationship with themselves. And that is the answer to everything,
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
everything. It is. We're not taught how to think. We don't teach, we're not, however much we are thinking all day, every day, and how important it is that the impact that our thoughts are having on who we are and how we are in our lives, we should be learning how the brain works. We should be learning how to think the things we want to think. So that's what I'm doing now. Yeah.
Mhm. Did you have to have some sort of um, transformation of your own in order to have that shift, like in
I
your
know that's a good question. And I always wish that I had some like crying on the floor in the bathroom moment that, I never had one of those meltdown moments. I feel like it was a slow brew for me. And it was more like deep in my childhood, um, experiencing kind of the neglect, the emotional abandonment, just being left on my own to kind of grow myself and figure out who I am. But I did that young. Like I did that very young. I traveled the world when I was 22 all by myself. I didn't go get a job after college. My mom always used to say, Hilary marches to the beat of her own drum. Like that's her nice way of saying I'm weird or different. I've really been doing this pretty much my whole life, just doing it my way, doing what I want, answering to myself. I don't know. I think I was just born this way. But that's why I understand it so well. It is just my own psychology.
So did you feel like emotionally abandoned as a kid or something?
Oh, yeah. I think most of us do. I mean, I think our parents, I mean, I'm a mom, so I'm not like trying to blame and shame parents. Growing up is hard and parenting is hard, and parents can't give their kids everything that they need all the time. But when you have emotionally immature parents, you are left to kind of figure things out on your own and to fend for yourself. And that was definitely me. I call myself emotional latchkey. I had the clothes and the shoes and everything looked good on the outside, but I was not like I had no one. And I think that's how a lot of my clients feel. Nobody was really paying that close of attention, helping them see themselves, helping them learn who they are and discover who they are. And we grow into adults who don't really know who we are. And this is how we people end up in relationships with narcissists. When you don't have that strong, whole sense of self, you easily get absorbed into somebody who's going to suck that out of you and suck the life out of you. So the work is to become like, I have these 5 core concepts of being self-centered. And that's the work, is to really achieve these kind of elements inside of yourself so that you can be this whole centered person and ward that off without having to spend all your time and energy trying to avoid it.
Hmm. So how did you learn how to give yourself that emotional parenting that you needed?
Yeah, I think it was just done by necessity. And some of it was rebellion. I think when I was younger, I was like, I'm going to figure this out. I don't need you. Some of that really immature response, rebelliousness. But in just doing things my own way and, not doing what was expected of me and what I'm supposed to do and what I should do and, you know, not wanting to be what my parents wanted me to be or expected me to be, um, I was I figured it out. And of course, I did my own healing work on myself and therapy and coaching and stuff like that along the way. And of course, then I think working with people the way I have for so long, so intimately, and hearing their stories just reinforces what I believe to be true.
Mhm.
And so, yeah.
So you mentioned neuroscience. I talk a lot about that too, and rewiring the brain. You want to talk about that? What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't, if your people are already following you, they already know what that means from what you're saying. So I don't want to go too basic, but like we can change the way we think. Our thoughts are a habit. And our thoughts become habitual because they are things we have been telling ourselves over and over and over and over again. And they become beliefs. So our beliefs are nothing more than statements or sentences that we have said to ourselves so many times that we believe it. And so, in order to change the way you think about yourself or anything else, these automatic hardwired thoughts that we have to create new connections in the brain. The neuroscience is creating new neural pathways in the brain. That has to be done through repetition. And it's not just affirmations every day. It literally is. So I have a daily journal method, and it is like my 90-day process to literally change the brain. And it's a combination of repetition of focusing your thoughts on what you want them to be and instead of what they were, and you're thinking the new things and you're thinking the new things. And it also infuses radical gratitude that like all the things that my clients and your clients have been through that have sucked big time and have deeply impacted them in a negative way, to be grateful for those, you know, to really, so it is, and there's also a lot of manifesting stuff in there too, because when you change the way you're thinking and you change your emotional state and you change the things that you're putting out there, it's a little woo, but you put it out into the universe, you're getting things back to you in a new way. And so it is like an up level of your thinking. All of us think things we don't want to be thinking because we've been doing it for so long. So it's not going to change unless we actually dig in and are committed to learning to think new things.
So where would you say that people should start? This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's be real. Therapy can feel like a really big investment, but your mental health is just as important as your physical health. Traditional in-person therapy can cost $100 to $250 per session, but with BetterHelp, you can save up to 50% per session on average. You pay a flat weekly fee, which means more peace of mind for less. Therapy should feel accessible, not like a luxury. BetterHelp gives you that, all from the comfort from your home. And with over 30,000 therapists to choose from and 5 million people served globally, this is the world's largest online therapy platform, and you can switch therapists at any time. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/negotiate today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/negotiate.
My journal, like you can't just decide you're going to do it. And it's not about just writing an affirmation. I mean, there's 6 steps in the journal. And I'll just kind of go over those a little bit, but it is like you have to, this isn't toxic positivity where you ignore the things that are bothering you and you dismiss yourself, because then you're just abandoning yourself, which is not what we want. So it really is about checking in with yourself first and being honest with yourself about where you are now. So when you wake up in the morning, are you grumpy? Is something bothering you? Is something not sitting right? Or how are you feeling right now? And where are you at right now? And then the next step moves you into, well, it's kind of like when you're walking and you have a compass and you're going the wrong direction, you turn the compass to the direction that you want to be going instead. So you're turning the compass to focus on where you want to be instead. So this is the process of changing that. So that's where I'm at now. What is it that I really want to be thinking? I might not believe it right now, but this is what I want to be thinking. So, okay, I'm a badass. I've got this amazing company. I've got great relationships with my kids. I conduct my life with integrity. Whatever it is, these are the things that you want to know about yourself and that you want to be thinking of yourself all the time, autopilot. Now, that you don't have to be convincing yourself of this anymore, but what you really want to be thinking automatically, effortlessly. And it starts by that. And then there's a few other steps in the journal, but when you do this every day, you do begin to believe new things and think new things all the time because you're creating new neural pathways in the brain. Your brain might not have thought those things before, but they do now because you've trained it in. You've installed it in to your operating system.
So you have to do that every single day, right?
Yeah, I still do. This is a process I developed when I was trying to launch my program and I could not figure it out. It took me a few years to actually be able to close my practice for good. And I tried coaches and programs. It took me 4 years and $100,000 to really crack the code to be fully online.
Mhm.
And nothing I was doing was going to help. Nothing, no coach was going to be good enough. No tactic or strategy was ever going to be good enough because
Mhm.
I was my own problem right here, me. And I did discover that I had these limiting beliefs that that's kind of success is not for me. It's for other people, but not for me. That somehow, in some reason why, I don't have what it takes. And in the process of journaling this every day while I was building, I changed my brain. Those are no longer things I believe or thoughts that I have ever. Even when things aren't working the way I want to, that's not why. And I developed the journal without realizing I was doing it. And over time, it just leveled me up completely. Like I had to believe that I could be a millionaire before I could be one. I don't wait for the evidence to believe it's possible. You have to believe it's possible before it will happen. And that's what this journal does. I'm not here to pitch the journal, but that's just seems to be what we're talking about. So it's the method. It works.
Yeah. I mean, I always say your identity precedes your outcome. Like you have
Yes.
to be it first. I mean, people
Yes.
think, I'll have it and then I'll believe it. No, you have to be it
Yes.
first.
That old adage of like seeing is believing is backwards. You have to believe first and then you will start seeing. And identity work is the gateway to everything you want.
Yes. Yes. You have to be it first. You have
Yeah.
to be it first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I tell that to my coaches all the time, all the time. Um, so, and how do you help people who are like in trauma, like distinguish between like that fear, um, so that they get out of that trauma fear
Yeah.
and start entering into that new relationship and get like because a lot of people in my world they're in that like I can't how do I trust that this person isn't going to be like everybody else that I've been in relationships with before. It's like trusting themselves or trust that person.
Yeah. But I have a belief that having trouble trusting other people is a problem with not trusting yourself.
Hmm.
It is. Because most of the time we saw and we didn't listen. We felt it and we ignored it. We knew and we didn't listen. And when we don't listen, we are turning away from ourselves and abandoning ourselves and betraying ourselves. And we get into things we know we shouldn't. I can't tell you how many times women have told me I knew on my wedding day I shouldn't do it, but I couldn't walk away at that point. It was too late. Where I saw the red flags. I'm like, that was not a red flag. That was a flag on fire, and you did it anyway. So, really, you knew. Most of the time, we do know. Now, in the cases
You.
where it really came out of nowhere and we didn't know, it still is about learning to trust yourself. It is that self-centered listening to yourself, not what you should do, not to be the good girl, not to be the nice one, not to give the benefit of the doubt, not because you don't want to be judgy. What you see is what you see. It is real and it is valid. And so it is that relationship with self. That is the only way to actually get back out there and allow yourself to be in relationships and to trust yourself that if it doesn't go well and if it turns out not to be what I think it's going to be, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay no matter what because
Hmm.
I've got me. I am centered in myself and, things happen and we can't control that. And
Hmm.
I don't want my clients. I've had women say to me, "Well, Hilary, how do I avoid the narcissist? Now that I'm out there dating, how do I detect them and how do I know?" And my answer is you don't have to know, and I don't want you going out there with your binoculars on and your microscope out trying to avoid them because you will get more of those people in your life. If you're looking for them, they will come. You focus on what you focus on and that is what you get. So
Hmm.
really, when you are solid in yourself, those people bounce. It is an automatic shield for those people. They do
So
not come into your realm at all. They do not. They know I'm not fuck-withable. I hope I can cuss on your
No,
show.
no, it's so true. I talk about that all the time. I always liken it to Glinda the Good Witch in The Wizard of Oz. Because you remember how in The Wizard of Oz where the Wicked Witch came around her and she went, "Go away, you have no power here." And the Wicked Witch was like, "Oh God, I don't want to be around her," right? Because she was like,
Yeah.
"Please, lady, I have no time for you."
There's so many narcissism themes in that movie.
So many.
Yeah.
So many.
Yeah.
And she was like, please, please, you're like a
Yeah.
gnat flying around over here.
Yeah. That's a great example. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so to get past the trauma, a lot of people don't like when I say this, but once I start to explain it, they get it. It's about taking radical responsibility. And when you've been through trauma, when you've been betrayed, when you've been through abuse, no one's going to put the mirror in front of your face and tell you you've done something here to contribute, but it's true. So part of so core concept number one of self-centered is to take radical responsibility. In your life, you are always the problem and the solution. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but it's also the magic pill in every
You
situation.
have to. You
Yeah,
have to, because the thing about that is that if you don't, then you can't say that I'm now the solution too.
right.
But and you're not saying, hey, I'm giving them a pass. I also am now responsible for the fact that they're an asshole or they're whatever, or they're a narcissist or whatever, or I'm responsible for the fact that I allowed this or whatever. But you have to say, I did stay for a certain amount of time. I knew, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
and okay, but and you're not saying, I forgive them or all
Has
of,
nothing to do with them.
yeah,
Like they are their own problem. Maybe they'll deal with themselves or not, but it doesn't matter. I'm my own problem. When, like I said about my struggling to break through to my business, I was my own problem, me. And as soon as I was able to see that, I got out of my own way and got what I wanted. If you are not the problem and you can't see how you've contributed to this, it will happen again, period. So like your responsibility for you and what you've done and contributed has nothing to do with them.
yeah,
Nothing. But
yeah,
it will happen again. Hands
yeah,
down, it will happen again.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. Um, you have to take responsibility, so that you can also create agency
Yep.
going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's going to
I'm
happen again. And I do again, like I feel like it's kind of it's a little controversial. When you've been cheated on, I'm like, well, how were you? How were you in that relationship? Oh, you were emotionally avoidant. Oh, you worked all the time. You were distant. Well, I'm not excusing cheating, but I can certainly understand why it happened. It's an explanation. And it's the most empowering and liberating thing to own your shit and to know that you've done stuff because then you learn you won't do it ever again. Ever. You become impervious to those things that you're scared. And that's how you develop self-trust is really by owning your stuff and seeing how you're contributing.
Yeah, 100%. Because you have to be able to take agency going forward. And that way you can become 100% responsible for your life
Yeah.
and become the leader in your life.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I talk so much about in my programs, which is, a lot of women come into my programs and they've they go right from the narcissist. If you're a renter, you should be taking advantage of Built. We rack up points on groceries, travel, and nearly everything else. So why not one of your most hugest monthly expenses, which is your rent? Because with Built, paying rent finally pays off. There's no cost to join. And just by paying rent, you unlock flexible points that can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. When you pay rent through Built, you unlock two powerful benefits. First, You earn one of the industry's most valuable points on rent every month. No matter where you live or who your landlord is, your rent now works for you. Second, you gain access to exclusive neighborhood benefits in your city. Built's neighborhood benefits are things like extra points on dining out, complimentary post-workout shakes, free mats, or towels at your favorite fitness studios, and unique experiences that only Built members can access. And when you're ready to travel, Built points can be converted to your favorite miles and hotel points around the world, meaning your rent can literally take you places. So if you're not earning points on rent, my question is, what are you waiting for? Start paying rent through Built and start taking advantage of your neighborhood benefits by going to joinbuilt.com/negotiate. That's JOINBILT.com/negotiate, and make sure to use our URL so that we know that you were sent to them by us. So go to joinbuilt.com/negotiate to sign up for Built today. To giving away all their power to a lawyer or giving away all their power to the therapist, and they feel victimized again because now the lawyer has, they paid $300,000 to the lawyer, they paid all this money to whatever, and it's like, no, you have to take control of your case. You have to take control of, all of the facts and all of the documentation, and everything's in your hands.
Yeah, you're the common denominator in these relationships.
Right.
One of the things that also I don't hear a lot, and maybe you talk about it and I haven't heard it, but like a lot of people aren't saying, oh, like the healing from narcissistic abuse is, getting yourself back and whatever and healing from that. But there's a reason that we were allowed ourselves to get in a relationship with that person in the first place. So it predates the narcissist. The work we do on ourselves predates that person in our life, not after. And that's where people get stuck, repeating the patterns. They recover from what they experienced from this person, but they haven't looked at who was I before I got in that relationship that made me a sitting duck or a prime target for this person.
100%.
Yeah. And that's what a big, like all of the narcissistic abuse therapy out there is missing. And people end up repeating the pattern again, and then they feel like they're stuck.
Personality, the fact that, you think that, oh, if I just work harder, if I hustle more, if I give more, if I, all of that stuff, that does not allow for, you're never going to get anywhere with that.
Nope.
Right? You're never going to get anywhere with that. That's just a black hole, black hole, black hole.
Yep.
And the paradox is actually that the more you stand up for yourself, the more you hold your ground, the more you are Glinda the Good Witch, the more healthy you are, and the more they do respect you, actually.
Yeah. And we don't need their respect. I know,
like you are.
Yeah. I mean, your clients have to continue dealing with these people because they co-parent or whatever it is that's going on. And so do mine at times, but, we don't need their respect.
The more self-centered you are, the more whole you are.
Yeah. And it's such an, again, paradox because narcissism are those people who are extremely uncentered in themselves. They have a deep hole in their soul and they are seeking to fill it as you teach, I know, from other people. Like, like they're starving. Their soul is starving.
Yeah.
And they will take food and sustenance wherever they can. So when we are fully centered in ourselves, we don't provide that. And the irony is the extreme selflessness and do-gooder, and when we see ourselves as noble for being selfless and empathic, that is narcissism on the other side of the extreme, and they come together in that way. And so all of the I need to be needed is narcissistic. So
yeah, and it's also another form of trauma.
Yeah,
it's another form of trauma.
Yeah.
So if somebody is listening to this right now and they're feeling super stuck and they're feeling like, okay, broken, and and like in a relationship where they don't know um where to start as far as like um how do I get out of this, but I really want to be in a love relationship. Where would you tell them to start?
It starts with you. It starts with you. Don't look to other people to fill your hole. Don't look to other people to make you happy. Don't look to other people for validation, acceptance, belonging, recognition, attention. You have to fill yourself up from the inside first. When you are whole, that is when you get into another relationship with someone else who is whole.
Mhm.
Because the reality is, we all want to be in a relationship with somebody who's going to be able to see us and value us and appreciate us and love us and support us and make us a priority. That's what
Mhm.
we want. That's healthy.
Mhm.
Not perfect, but that's the idea of what we want. And if somebody shows up into their love lives, if we, you, me show up and we have that hole and we're seeking from somebody, it throws things off right from the very beginning.
Mhm.
It's not that you have to love yourself perfectly before you get into a relationship with someone. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you do have to know your worth. And
Mhm.
that comes from inside of you, not from your achievements, your accomplishments, the way you look, the money in the bank. All my clients look the part. They look like you and me. They've got the money, the success. They're beautiful. They look 10 years younger than they are. Yet their track record with men does not reflect that of a woman who knows her worth and her value. They settle for so much, being
Yeah.
treated poorly,
My
and
God, I
it's
cannot tell you how
terrible.
many people are like, oh, I have everything. I'm like a, hospital administrator, like, how did I end up here? A shell of myself, Well, but where would they start on the self-worth journey? Where would you tell them?
In terms of like,
Like starting to love themselves, what would you tell them to do?
I mean, it's not a simple thing, but I do think learning to become fully centered in yourself, you have to cultivate a relationship with yourself. You do. You have to know yourself. You have to trust yourself and value yourself. And, that's what Ready for Love does. Ready for Love is a step-by-step build on itself process, where I'm teaching and walking them through healing modalities and all these things that they work on them on their own, and then they get coached to apply it, probably much like I'm assuming some of your high-end programs do too. It's a method. It's not as simple as just love yourself. If it was, we would all just do it. It's be patient and do the work. But it starts with looking in the mirror. It really does. The first question you have to ask yourself is, how am I contributing to this?
Hmm. Hmm. So where's the best place for people to start on their journey with you?
Hmm. Well, that would depend what their journey is. But if you're single and this is resonating, Ready for Love Inc. Inc.com, I'm sure you'll give everybody the links. Ready for Love would be for you.
Mhm.
If you're not single and you just love what I'm saying and you want to be a part of my world and the self-centered movement, I have a free video training. It's very brief and short, called This Changes Everything. And you can sign up at hilarysilver.com/subscribe. And that's a great way to just free entry into my system, my ecosystem, and learn more about what I do. I have a weekly podcast. They've been solo episodes until now, but this year my goal is to start bringing on people, and maybe I'll have you on my show too soon. We'll
That'd
have a
be
great
awesome.
conversation.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you would want to share with anyone, like any tidbits of information, something, some bit of advice that you haven't shared yet that you think people should definitely know?
I mean, I think we've covered a lot today, and I will say, just to reemphasize, it starts with you. You are the problem, but you are the solution. It's the bitter pill to swallow. I know, especially when you've been through shit and you feel beaten up and chewed up and spit out, but you are contributing, even if it's just that you don't think nice things to yourself or you talk to yourself critically or whatever it is, there's something that you're doing that's getting in the way. And that's the best news I can give you. You want it to be you. I want to be my problem because then I can just figure it out. And I always do. And I always get what I want. Same is true for everyone. When we are willing to just look in the mirror and see what we're doing, we can quickly discover that and figure it out. And now we are no longer blocking that which we want.
Hmm.
This is it, I swear. I promise.
Yeah. And one thing that I always tell people is that you're way smarter than you realize and give yourself way more credit than you do. Because if you're listening to this right now, that means that you have figured out a hell of a lot already. And if you're already living with somebody who's super toxic, I promise you're so much stronger than you realize, and you have so much more value than you realize because they didn't attach themselves to you because you have so little value. They attach themselves because you have so much, and they're gaslighting you into believing that you have so little, but they don't keep coming back because you have so little value. They come back because you have so much, and that's why they keep themselves attached to you.
Yeah, we need to be discerning. And when you are discerning, you don't give everybody access to you. Not
Mhm.
everybody gets to tap into that. Only the people that you get to decide comes in get to come in.
Yeah, so just start by creating, one boundary, one boundary, one invisible shield today. Just put that one invisible shield down around you, just start by that one sort of soul distancing today. And you can do that no matter where you are, no matter what your living situation is. You can soul distance and create that one invisible shield and demand respect for yourself, no matter who you are, or no matter where you are.
Yeah.
So,
Just be irreverent to like what, it's like I don't need you and I don't, I'm above this and I'm beyond that and just be impervious to their input. You don't need it. Like you
mhm.
don't need them. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, definitely go follow her, HilarySilver.com at I am Hilary Silver is her Instagram. Is that correct? I haven't.
Yep. Yep. I am Hilary Silver and I have YouTube. My podcast is also on YouTube as well. So
Yeah. So
find me on
go
YouTube.
check it out and check out her links. She's got a lot of really great, cool stuff. And thank you, Hilary, from one badass woman. Uh,
Thank you. This was
uh,
so fun. I knew we would have a good conversation.
yes, and really, really up to some amazing stuff. And check her out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really, really appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. I enjoyed it.